There isn't a record made that has any soul that didn't come out of the blues. And even people today like Prince and Bobby Brown, and they sing the blues.
He never shouted. He didn't need to. Where others raced for speed, he reached for feel. A player who found eternity in a single bend. To some, he was a prodigy. To others, a paradox. A man torn between heaven and heartbreak, between worship and regret. In the 60s, they painted his name on London walls. In the 70s, he nearly disappeared beneath his own silence. But the blues never left him. It waited, patient, until he was ready to listen again.
But always in the center of my music, there has been the blues, the well that I go back to draw from.
Clapton's story isn't about fame, it's about feel. The sound of a man still chasing peace through his guitar. It began long before him, in the records that taught him how to speak in notes. 6 albums that shaped his soul, the sound that built Eric Clapton. Number 1. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Texas Flood. Some players burn fast, Stevie burned pure. When Clapton first heard him in the early 80s, he said it felt like the blues had remembered its heartbeat.
And I remember thinking, I have to find out before the day is over who that guitar player is.
Stevie's tone had no disguise. Just sweat, prayer, and lightning stitched into sound. Clapton had lived that kind of pain too. The long nights, the silence after the noise. So when they finally shared a stage, it wasn't competition, it was communion. 2 men who'd both fallen and somehow found their way back through music. At Alpine Valley in 1990, Stevie played like he was already free. Clapton watched from the wings and later said he was playing better than ever. It was spiritual. Hours later, the crash took him. For Clapton, that night never ended. Texas Flood, released in 1983, became more than an album. It was a reminder of what honesty sounds like when nothing stands in the way. Stevie proved that the blues isn't about sorrow or perfection, it's about truth. And for Clapton, that truth still echoes, every time he bends a note slow enough to break your heart.
Being fascinated by the fact that he never ever seemed to be lost in any way. I mean, it wasn't ever that he took a breather or paused to think where he was going to go next. It just flowed out of him.
Number 2. Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? Some sounds don't just change music, they change gravity. When Clapton first saw Hendrix live in 1966, it was like watching the laws of guitar bend in real time. London already called Clapton God. Then a left-handed kid from Seattle walked in and made heaven louder. He invited Hendrix to sit in with Cream that night. Hendrix plugged in, ripped through Killing Floor, and left the room silent. Clapton walked off stage pale, whispering, "You never told me he was that good." It wasn't envy. It was revelation. When Are You Experienced landed in 1967, it felt like a doorway opening. Distortion became emotion, feedback became prayer, and the electric guitar finally sounded as wild as the life it came from. Clapton later said Hendrix showed him that mastery wasn't about control, it was about surrender. Decades later, that night still haunted him. Because Hendrix didn't just play notes, he played possibility. And for Clapton, that was the moment the blues grew wings.
His tastes were exactly what I would want in another musician, you know, like the blues and where it came from. And also, he had this fantastic imagination for what you could do with it.
Number 3. Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow. Some guitarists speak, Jeff Beck made his guitar breathe. He and Clapton came from the same storm, the Yardbirds, a factory for brilliance and rivalry. When Clapton walked out in 1965, Beck stepped in and rewrote what electricity could feel like. Where Clapton sought purity, Beck chased danger. Every solo felt like it might collapse, then rise again like thunder. They were opposites bound by tone. Clapton admired Beck's fearlessness, that instinct to dive into chaos and come out singing. He once said, "On a good night, no one could touch Jeff." It wasn't competition, it was awe. Then came Blow by Blow in 1975, a record without a single lyric, yet full of voice. Produced by George Martin, it moved like weather. Jazz one moment, funk the next, always human. Songs like "'Cause We've Ended as Lovers" sounded less like performances and more like confessions caught on tape. For Clapton, it was liberation. Beck proved that melody could speak louder than words, that mastery was nothing without risk. Even now, when Clapton slows a phrase and lets it hang in air, you can hear Jeff in the distance, still reminding him that emotion and precision can live in the same breath.
I think he is the most unique guitar player, and probably the most devoted. I mean, from what I know of Jeff, you know, he's either fixing his cars or playing the guitar. There's no in-between for him. And he actually is never changed.
Number 4. Chuck Berry, the Great 28. Before the solos, before the spotlight, there was Chuck Berry, the man who taught rock and roll how to walk, talk, and swing. Clapton has said that Berry was the beginning of everything. Long before he touched a blues stage, he was playing Chuck's riffs note for note, trying to capture that snap, that smile, hidden inside the rhythm. Berry's songs were short, sharp, and alive. Teenage stories carried by guitar lines that danced instead of screamed. When the Great 28 collected them all in 1982, Clapton called it a masterclass in economy. There were no long solos, no wasted phrases, just truth, played fast enough to feel free. For Clapton, Berry was the bridge. From the raw energy of rhythm, blues, to the emotion of modern rock. You can hear it in Clapton's early work with the Yardbirds and Cream. The chugging rhythm, the bent double stops, the grin behind the groove. Berry proved that attitude could be melody, that you didn't need volume to sound alive. And every time Clapton slides into a shuffle or smiles mid-solo, you can still feel that spark, the ghost of the man who made the guitar walk tall.
If you were going to play rock and roll or any upbeat number and you wanted to take a guitar ride, you would end up playing like Chuck, or what you learnt from Chuck.
Number 5. B.B. King, Live at the Regal. Every guitarist has a teacher. For Clapton, it was B.B. King. The first time he heard Live at the Regal, released in 1965, he said it was like hearing the blues speak perfect English. There was no rush, no excess, just tone, space, and command. B.B. didn't play fast, he answered the audience. Each note a sentence, each pause a truth. Clapton would sit with that record for hours, dropping the needle again and again, trying to understand how B.B. made a single bend sound like forgiveness. He later said, "That album taught me everything. How to play, how to sing, how to be proud of the blues." When the two finally met, it felt like history folding in on itself. Clapton called him my hero, my brother, and B once told him, "You took the blues and carried it around the world." Every time Clapton lifts a note and lets it hang, you can hear that Chicago theater in 1964. The crowd shouting, B, smiling, Lucille crying. Live at the Regal didn't just change his playing, it gave him purpose. It reminded him that the blues isn't sadness, it's survival, and every note is a way of staying alive.
I think he was the elder statesman, which B.B. is now, I suppose. You know, he's like holding
BB's
the
the one
torch.
who's left, right?
Yeah, he's the last one. Not that I can't say that. John Lee Hooker's pretty, you know. It's another form of music, I suppose, but for the guitar, you know, lead guitar, B.B. was always the one still there.
Number 6. Albert Lee, Speechless. Some guitarists dazzle, Albert Lee humbles. Clapton has called him the greatest guitarist in the world, and he's never said it lightly. After decades surrounded by icons, it was Albert's quiet precision that left him stunned. Where others filled space, Lee carved air. His playing was lightning wrapped in grace, country speed with blues feel, never bragging, never loud. When Speechless arrived in 1987, it sounded like what Clapton always chased. Clarity, honesty, and touch so clean it hurt. They played together often, and Clapton once admitted he'd stand beside him on stage and forget to play, just watching his hands. There was no ego, no flash, just fluency. Every note had purpose, every silence. Wait. For Clapton, Albert proved that mastery isn't about volume or fame. It's about humility. That you can play 1,000 notes a minute and still sound like a whisper. When he speaks of tone now, the soft attack, the perfect timing, you can hear Albert Lee in every word. Speechless wasn't just an album title. It was a summary of what great playing does to you. Even Clapton, the eternal student, still listens in awe